With so much going on in the world today, this may sound like an esoteric topic. What does it have to do with what's going on with executive orders coming out of Washington, with a war in the Middle East and Ukraine, with the challenges that we have on so many different levels? So why are we suddenly talking about heaven on earth? Where is God's home? Well, let me tell you its relevance. One of the big philosophical, theological, I would say even psychological and even scientific quandaries has always been the search for unity, of integration, singularity. In many ways it came down to what we call today energy and matter. When Einstein wrote that most famous equation, E equals mc squared, that energy and matter are truly one and the same. Everything matter is really energy, and energy can be turned into matter. That was a revolution. But the truth is, the mystics always knew that was not just a possibility, but that was reality. Just a simple example. You take a cup of water. You heat the water, it becomes gas. You freeze it, it becomes ice. If you saw ice, liquid, gas, you wouldn't know, unless you knew otherwise, you wouldn't know they're the same entity, just three different forms of it. You put a piece of wood in a fireplace. The wood suddenly becomes fuel. If you just saw the wood and never tried it, you wouldn't know that. So the truth is that all of existence is really, on the surface level, looks one way, but beneath the surface, when you get into the elementary level, the molecular, the atomic and subatomic, something else all entirely. But the truth is they're all part of one dimension. Are you a body or a soul? Now, on a theological level, the question has always been that we live in a material world. That's very clear. And we have material needs to eat, to drink, to sleep, relationships. We have all kinds of material needs that we have. I'm not even getting into excess, luxuries. And then there's also the transcendent part of us. Transcendent part of us is far different, more sublime. And we've always had the dilemma, can ever the twain meet? Can East meet West, as Kipling put it? Because they seem to be antithetical to each other. When you're immersed in your material needs, you're often not in a transcendent place. When you're in a transcendent place, you usually need to quiet down the outside noises. Some people go live an ascetic lifestyle. It's the only way they feel they can find deeper harmony. So which one is it? There was always a time where spiritual people, free spirits, some way were disconnected from, the mystics were disconnected from the grounded rush hour of a merry-go-round and roller coaster of our lives. They wanted to be they wanted seclusion, to meditate, silence, and so on. So this question is not just a theoretical one, it's a very practical one, because we do live in a materialistic world where there's a lot of competition and a lot of corruption, for that matter, and with everything that comes with that. And yet there is something inside each of us, what the Bible calls a kol dema daka, a very subtle, quiet voice. It's that voice that you feel that inner peace at times. And can these two worlds meet? So many of us compartmentalize. That's our solution. All week long I'm working. I'll dedicate a weekend with my loved ones. I'll read a book, listen to music. We find ways to compartmentalize. But compartmentalization ultimately defies the very basis of what really gives us true peace and harmony, and that is integration, unity. So which one is it? Do you opt for a more spiritual life and give up some of your material dreams, or the other way around? Now, this is all based on a premise that they are antithetical. Comes another approach that says, no, they're not. Because there's a third world. It's not just matter or spirit, matter and energy. There's a world that is neither matter or nor energy. beyond both, and therefore they can both be integrated. That means there's a way to spiritualize the material. When we discovered about energy and matter, it wasn't a battle between matter and energy. It was discovering the energy within matter. And how do you harness the tremendous power, nuclear power, atomic power, that lies even the fiber, even in the thread, even in one hair follicle. And the same thing is on a spiritual level. It's another way of looking at things. It's not that the only way to find nirvana is through escape. It's within existence, but you need to be focused. You need to realize what's the means and what's the end. Because in truth, every piece of existence, every fiber of existence, every detail of existence carries potent, tremendous spiritual opportunity. The mystics call it the spiritual sparks that are scattered all over the world. The example I would give is, think of a book, a grand, classic, tremendous book, the book of life. It's a narrative, it's complex, many details, intricacies, nuances. Then someone takes the book and tears it up and scatters the little pieces all over the earth. And they say, your job is to come collect, gather, and reconnect these fragments into the narrative once again. Or think of a musical composition, beautiful composition, and someone takes all the musical notes or the however you define it, and again scatters it. Your job is to come back and rebuild, recreate that music. That is a way of understanding what we call tikkun olam, tikkun. The word of tikkun means to repair. To repair what? Fragments. So your life is made up of many fragments, many details. Starting from the moment you were born, to whom you were born, your family, your schooling, the places you've traveled to, and a lot of things going on. But try to list something you did list one day of your activities and try to find a thread that connects them. It won't be that easy. But when you understand there's a spiritual narrative, spiritual mission in everything you do, then things get connected. Because they're all encompassed in a bigger story. What's the story of your life? Sometimes, as Kierkegaard puts it, we can only understand our life backwards, but we have to live our life frontwards. We live from today till tomorrow. You look back at times, you say, now I understand why I met this person, why I had this setback, why this happened, that happened. Because it is a narrative, and it's constantly on the move. It's constantly unfolding. And learning how to navigate that is the key to everything. So heaven and earth, where do they meet? Right at your doorstep. In every deed that you do, in every act that you do, you have two options. You're either going to spiritualize the material, you're going to find the common denominator, or it's going to be compartmentalized, or worse. A tenuousness, a tension that often takes place. So it's really about understanding, as they say, that we're not physical beings on a spiritual journey, we're spiritual beings on a physical journey. So getting to know your life and looking through the lens of your soul, not the lens of your body. Your body looks at immediate, instant gratification. What do I need to do now? I wake up in the morning, I got to rush, get myself a coffee, rush to work, whatever it may be. Different appointments and so on. That's survival living, even if you're very successful. But it's being driven by the moment, driven by people's expectations, demands, responsibilities. Some of it may be good stuff. Then there's another way of looking at it, through the eyes of a mission statement. What is the mission of your life? Where then everything that you do is all under that rubric of your bigger objectives. What do you want to achieve? What mark do you want to make in this world? And that's where spirit takes over. And all your material activities are essentially just spokes driven by that hub, spokes of a wheel. They're means to help fulfill that deeper mission. It's a very different way of looking at life. And that's indeed why the mystics put it this way. They say, yes, heaven on earth. So where does God find his home? In this world, in this material world. You would think God belongs in the spiritual realms, because that seems to be much more conducive. But indeed, we're told no. Is because the highest level is not spirit no matter. It's something beyond both. And that's the place that you can join them both. There's a fascinating statement by one of the great mystics. His name was Ibn Gabbai, Rab Meir Ibn Gabbai, in a book called the Sacred Service, Avodat HaKodesh. He says, just as God has the power to create the infinite, he has the power to create the finite. Because if you don't say that, that itself makes him finite. So there's basically two tracks. The track of the infinite. What William Blake says, that when you cleanse the doors of perception, you're left with everything the way it is, infinite. And then there's the finite world, those doors of perception. And man, time immemorial, has been trying to find a way to bridge the two. It's not that simple. Jim Morrison of the Doors, named after Blake's poem, couldn't handle it, and he blew his mind. As did Jimi Hendrix, as did Janis Joplin, as did others, due to their deep spirituality, their deep aspirations. They couldn't ground it, like a flame, and there was no wick to hold it down. Others vie for material life and either give up on their free spirit, or they don't even allow it out in the first place, or they just ignore it. The challenge, can you bring the two, the intensity and passion of the energy of a free spirit, while also grounded and harnessed in this material world, when you realize that material world itself is not at war and is not a contradiction. It contains potent energy waiting to be released. Take money. Money is maybe one of the biggest symbols of materialistic ego, power, control. But money is also tremendous energy. If you channel it and you use it, you can build beautiful things. That's the power of charity. It taps into and it draws out, harnesses the tremendous soul energy. When it's not used that way, to give and to help others, it becomes a noose around your neck. How many people have told me, very wealthy people, I live in a gilded cage. Yes, I have money, I can do whatever I want, but I can't really do whatever I want, because I don't even know what I'm doing with my life. So money becomes, yes, a tool. It's like having a tremendously big tool chest, but what are you using it for? So it's a drug. It's a distraction. You can keep yourself very busy and feel on top of the world. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to your inner soul's mission in this world. And that's what we read about actually in the Bible this week. We read the chapter about building a home down below on earth. It's an unbelievable concept. Not in heaven, not in paradise, not in spiritual utopias, in this very material world, with all its corruption and its duplicity and its distractions. Because when you learn how to tap into it, that matter becomes energy. That matter becomes spirit. And the most powerful spirit of all. So it's a life where you integrate your body and your soul. You don't ignore your body. You don't live an ascetic lifestyle. You engage with the world, but you're not of the world. Your feet are firmly planted on the ground, but your head is in the sky, is in the heavens, in the clouds. And you bring them both together. Is it easy? No, it's not. But it's a model. It's a blueprint for life. And in truth, every problem we struggle with, all the challenges are resolved when we have that type of sense. Today, the media, everyone is trying to grab your attention. Everyone's trying to seduce and overstimulate your senses. Just look at your smartphone, look at the media, look at social media, whatever. To take control of your life, you have to live a life from inside out, not from outside in. Your stimulation should be coming from within, from your calling, not whatever anybody wants of you, and then you have to react. Proactive instead of reactive. And that really helps us reframe and look at things, a different type of lens altogether. And we then indeed can build from our very material world the most spiritual, powerful energy, spiritual, powerful home. And that's how we have to look at it. Enough of living moment to moment. To live an expansive way in that sense. And expansiveness begins with the spirit. So may you all be able to do exactly that. Don't get distracted. Don't get seduced. Don't get Don't buy into other people's narratives. Find your narrative. Make it happen. Make your material life be a true expression, a true channel for your spirit, for your inner energy. Thank you so much. Simon Jacobson here, meaningfullife.com. Please subscribe to our offerings, to our growing YouTube channel. Please share, and love to hear your feedback, your thoughts, your comments. Be blessed and be well. Thank you.